and this model was proposed by Hamid Maulana. You may want to note down the name Hamid Maulana. He spells his last name as Mowlana. He has a hyphenated identity. When I say hyphenated, he has dual nationality. He's Iranian hyphen American scholar, and he teaches at a university in Washington DC. He was also advisor of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, Iranian Prime Minister. So this model was proposed. See, Maulana, this is his last name, Maulana, Hamid Maulana. He said that the process of communication, international communication, can be put on two axes. If you have ever made a graph or studied a graph in maths, you know this is x-axis, this is y-axis. Remember? This is x-axis and then y-axis. And he said along x-axis we should study technology axis. Along y-axis we should study communication axis. Now if you look at this model, it talks about the simple process of dissemination of information. Information begins from a source, goes to destination. Okay? Source generates message, then it is distributed and finally it reaches to its destination. These four elements are simple, very simple. But when you pay attention, see, at production stage, when source is generating message, when you see it along the communication technology axis, along x-axis, you see this intersection happening here, intersection of technology axis. What intersection? Communication hardware. And then what intersection? Communication software. Okay, think about a developing country. In order to generate message from source and in order to get it from destination, technologically they are dependent on developed countries. Think about studios, equipment, camera, all that technology comes from northern countries. Similarly for distribution, think about communication softwares, editing softwares. I mean, even if we think about Adobe Premiere Pro, we know Adobe has its headquarters in United States. See, this either in the form of communication hardware or communication software, this is intersecting. See, the country is dependent on a developed country for production stage. Not only production stage, also for distribution stage. Does Pakistan have a satellite? I do not think so. Whenever there is an information, even if they want the coverage of a sports event, they would rely on satellites from other countries. Okay? Satellite, I mean, even for distribution, and finally to get their message to destination, they need software, they need technology, and that is how dependence. I mean, this model essentially only talks about the level of dependence that creates this communication software problem, communication hardware problem. That is how he thought that, okay, if you put it on technology on x-axis and if you put communication on y-axis, we see intersection happening for the production of messages by less developed countries. And I mean, in order to decrease this level of dependence, they need to be self-sufficient. There is this idea of self-sufficiency that is required. I mean, yes, there is no harm in being dependent. Yes, there is no harm in asking for support or help. I mean, if they get a little bit of support. But the idea of self-sufficiency is important. Are they really self-sufficient? That even if they do not rely on these channels for information, they will be able to survive? The answer is no. I mean, I highly encourage you to go scroll down pages of Dawn newspaper when you go home today. You will notice many news and pictures coming from Reuters, REUTERS, which is a British news agency. Many stories and pictures coming from AFP, Agence France Presse, which is a French news agency. They have international reach, and there are many stories you will notice that they lift many images. They come from Getty Images. You may have noticed GETTY. Getty Images is world's famous photo stock agency that sells its content, images, to these media channels for money. with that, I have finished this model, and we have finished all models that we wanted to study within the realm of international communication.